Hey guys, I was watching the Gamestop hearing in front of the House Financial Services Committee, but after watching the video and listening to the questions, I realized that the purpose of the hearing wasn't about GameStop and the short squeeze. It was about the relationship between Robinhood and Citadel and this concept called payment for order flow. So I wanted to just create this video just explaining what this is and how it works. For a little background, Keith Gill, aka Roaring Kitty, is the investor who started the GameStop short squeeze when he started sharing his positive opinion about GameStop stock on Wall Street Bets back in 2019. Gabe Plotkin is the founder and CEO of Melvin Capital, the firm primarily betting against GameStop stock. Vlad Tenev is the CEO of Robinhood, the brokerage that took the most heat for limiting the selling of GameStop stock, mostly due to the fact that a lot of younger investors use Robinhood due to its ease of use. Ken Griffin is the CEO of Citadel Securities. Citadel is what's called a market maker. A market maker's responsibility is to make sure that there's a buyer when somebody wants to sell and a seller when somebody wants to buy. So they supply the shares when somebody is looking to buy a stock, and they supply the cash when somebody's looking to sell a stock. Steve Huffman is the CEO of Reddit, which hosts the subreddit Wall Street Bets. A lot of investors go to Wall Street Bets to share their opinions of certain stocks and challenge others' opinions of those stocks. Wall Street Bets has had a surge of new members since the beginning of the year, going from around 2 million to around 10 million. The hearing was titled GameStop: Who Wins and Loses When Short Sellers, Social Media, and Retail Investors Collide. So I assumed the committee was going to target their questions towards Melvin Capital, Reddit, and Roaring Kitty, but it was the relationship between Robinhood and Citadel that got the most attention. The questions that were asked in the media were, how were short sellers able to borrow 140% of a company's total stock? Is it market manipulation for hundreds of thousands or millions of individual investors to collectively agree to buy a stock? Does Reddit bear any responsibility for users gathering on its platform to collude together? Is it possible to switch from two-day settlement to instant settlement? But the biggest question asked during this hearing was about payment for order flow, something very few people outside the Robinhoods and Citadels have any need to know. After you submit your order to buy one share of Apple, the share instantly appears in your brokerage account and the cash value is removed from your buying power, but a lot happens behind the scenes that you don't necessarily get to see. Every transaction requires one buyer and one seller. So that means that if you want to buy a share of Apple, somebody needs to be on the other side of the transaction willing to sell their share of Apple to you at the current price. Now we introduce a third party called market makers, like Citadel Securities. Market makers facilitate transactions. In this example, Citadel will sell one share of Apple for $121.05, and they make money from buying the same share from somebody else for $121 and profiting off the 5-cent difference. Market makers really make their money from the green circle. In one day, 88 million shares of Apple were bought and sold. With every transaction, a market maker makes a few cents, so market makers will make well over $100,000 in this one stock in one day. On the other side, most users are fine with this because for a fraction of a percent, they are able to buy or sell a stock without needing to find a counterparty. Market makers make their money off the spread rather than the stock price changing, so they are relying on brokerages like Robinhood funneling orders through their firm to complete customers' trades. To encourage Robinhood to continue sending orders through them rather than a competitor, Citadel may choose to pay Robinhood one of the 5 cents for every share they route through them. This is the payment for order flow. Naturally, this sparks a follow-up question. If Robinhood is supposed to represent you in negotiating with the market makers, but they're being paid by the market makers, doesn't this create a conflict of interest? And how can we make sure that they're acting on your behalf? This question was asked during the hearing, and Tenev responded that even without paying for order flow, they would still go through the market makers because the market makers typically give a better price than the alternative of going through an exchange like the floor of the New York Stock Exchange. In addition, they negotiate the same price from older market makers, so they're able to let them compete, and there's no advantage choosing one over the other. So they're able to choose whichever one will get their customers their best price. Robinhood is considered the pioneer in the commission-free trading movement. They are able to offer their customers $0 commissions because their operations are subsidized by the payment for order flow. As Tenev pointed out during the hearing, in the past, many brokerages received both a commission and received money in the back end from this payment for order flow. So Robinhood's really credited for forcing the industry to $0 commissions. In the past, when commissions were $20 per trade, somebody with $100 to invest would have to spend $20 to buy, and they would expect to have to pay $20 when they want to sell. So that would leave them with $60 that they would almost have to double to get back to the 100 they started with just to break even. Robinhood is a private company, so they don't disclose their financial information. But some of their competitors, like Charles Schwab, are required to disclose how much they receive in payment for order flow. Schwab reduced their commissions from $5 to $0 at the end of 2019, and we can see that Tenev was correct, that they were receiving a commission from their customers in the front end, as well as also receiving payment for order flow in the back end. The amount that Schwab receives from payment for order flow increased from 2019 to 2020, but it still only made up 6% of their total 2020 revenue. I would expect Robinhood to receive a significantly larger percentage of their revenue from paying for order flow, since Schwab is a larger firm and a bulk of their revenue comes from their advisory services and management fees on their exchange-traded funds and mutual funds, a service Robinhood does not offer. Okay, so there still remains the question, is paying for order flow good for individual retail investors? Congress is attacking the paying for order flow method to hurting individual investors, but I think that the paying for order flow allowed the short squeeze to happen. Paying for order flow lets you pay a small amount if you're buying a small position, and a proportionate larger amount if you're buying a larger position. This compares to a normal commission where you pay the same amount regardless of if you're opening a small position or a larger one. The logic behind the GameStop short squeeze is 100 retail investors investing $10,000 each is equal to one hedge fund investing $1 million. If every retail investor had to pay a $20 commission, that would affect the long side much more than it would affect the shorts. If each retail investor had to pay $20 to enter a position in GameStop, many would be scared away from even starting a position, and others would not be able to build out their position to its full extent because they would not be able to continue supplying money with each transaction they have to put in, they have to pay $20 for. This would cause the GameStop short squeeze to be a fraction of the event that it actually ended up being. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. In addition, if you have any other questions, leave a comment below. Let me know which side you're on. In addition, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and watch my first video.